how do I actually make an engaging clip, or how do I turn my long form into short form?
What is the result that you're looking for? Do you want just the number of views to go up, or actually do you want more engaging conversations?
But I think a lot of people get so hung up on like, what is the edit gonna look like? Well, is the message actually good? Is the message actually fit for a great edit?
The foundation is a good message, right? If you don't have a good message, unfortunately, no sort of editing is going to polish that and make it viewable. People are not gonna want to see that. 80% of your content is content that you know is working up to this point, and then 20% you can test new things.
What are you doing today to create that environment where you can create consistently, frequently, work on your message, get better every single day, and don't forget to put it out. Hey guys, welcome back to Content is Profit. Today, small, short, awesome episode. Finally got Fonzie here. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm back. Hello.
Sexy boys. But anyways, we've been like sharing these like videos back and forth. You know, I send them one video, I send me the other one, and there's some elements that I really want to talk about. A couple clips for a couple creators that we followed, and yesterday I was able to record a workshop, a short form content workshop with our amazing partners at Capture. And there's a lot of elements, that a lot of questions that people are asking, like, how do I actually make an engaging, clip, or how do I turn my long form into short form? Which, by the way, if you guys need help with that, happy to help. That's kind of what we do as a business. But Fonzie just sent me this awesome clip. Why don't you describe it a little bit? We might put it on the screen.
I mean, it was a short hook for a YouTube video from a team of guys that they create. They're mostly known for their animations that they create. Very unique type of content, right? I think they're one of the few that I've seen online that they really know how to differentiate themselves with the type of content. Like, they're so original.
Yeah.
And this one had way less animation. They went tone it down. But the hook of the video was, the short itself was an incredible hook for the long form piece of content. And I thought, obviously it was scripted, the whole structure of the video, right? The hook of that short was incredible. The music on it, the tonality, even the pauses in between certain parts of the script was, you can tell, was thought of, and it was incredible. And I think it's those type of content with that level of intention, the ones that separate good creators from the rest.
So if you're listening, we'll play the clip right now.
This is the world's most dangerous pool, the Devil's Pool, and it almost killed me. So in December 2022, there's this pool in the heart of Africa along the Zambezi River. And
then just go to YouTube, you might be able to watch it. But also, I think a characteristic of this clip was the sound design that's behind it, right? And this was a conversation that I had with the workshop and the Capture customers. Is a lot of people are trying to maybe create something like that, right? But they might not understand the resources or the time that it takes to do something, like that, right? So the way that we described it was there might be different tiers of the type of content that you create. And again, the goal of this specific clip was to hook you and drive you to their main YouTube video about that topic.
Yeah.
And, they several pieces, right? The hook for the clip, and then the clip hooks you for the main video, right? And I personally haven't seen the main video, but I think to have that objective clear, number one, is really important. And then two, right? A lot of people might not have the skills to do something like that, but it's what are the elements that we can grab from that clip and be can we use it in something like a talking head video or from a podcast, or how do we actually pick the right clip from a podcast, for example, right? So it's really important, right? So in your, I think bringing it to the other clip that I saw initially is from one of the creators from HubSpot, right?
Before you go to that one, I just want to add something in here, right? Their editing is absolutely amazing, right? They got that fancy editing going on, but I think it's very important to mention that the fancy editing, the ultra nice editing won't save you if there's no message, right? 100%. We talked about it. The foundation is a good message, right? If you don't have a good message, unfortunately, no sort of editing is going to polish that and make it, viewable. People are not going to want to see that. And I think that's interesting because this guy actually started doing podcast clips at first.
Yeah.
And I recently saw a video where the guy was saying, like, we were having these podcast clips with incredible effects and whatever, but it doesn't matter. Like, even if it had the best editing and the best animation, which animation takes a very long time to do, like, the content wouldn't take off, right, as much as they wanted to, right, or as much as they thought it would, because the message, why they said, doesn't have a good hook, it doesn't have a good story. The structure of it is very, very important, right? And yes, there are podcast clips and elements of conversations, right, long form content that you can potentially structure in a way to maximize the reach, right, maximize the resonance that it will have with the audience. But at the end of the day, intentional content, right, I think it will be always more efficient, right, if you create a piece of content with a very specific goal in mind. That being said, I still believe personally that, of course, there's a place for this multi-purpose type of content of podcast clips, etc., ways to, stay in front of your audience.
And again, I think also, what game might you be playing as a creator or as an entrepreneur, right? Like, so obviously a clip like that it implies that there were more resources poured into it, whether that's a budget or a team or even your skills, right? It will put you, the perspective towards you is going to change a little bit, right? Like the quality of the footage, imagine a Zoom call versus in studio 4K recording, for example, right? So I think there's like some value in there here and there, but it's some of the, like, how much of that, right? Like, is it actually worth it for the amount of content? Like, before we even worry about the message, right? At the end of the day, the message is that foundation that we really need to work and make sure that it works, right? And an example is Frank Kern. Frank Kern, big marketer, right? He published his first YouTube video after 2 years, probably a couple of weeks ago. And it's a talking head video, single angle, zoom in, zoom out. That's it. No presentation, no nothing.
Yeah.
And he's really good at sharing stories and sharing the lesson and teaching you, right? He calls it intent-based marketing, right? I'm actually going to teach you to do
you got to brand everything.
He says, I'll teach you the thing by teaching you the thing, right? Like, which is incredible and it's very valuable, right? And go to his YouTube channel. Again, we're not partners with him, nothing. Like, we would love to meet him in person. I actually met him in person, by the way. Fun story, but story for a different podcast. But that's a good example of
peeing at the same time.
Yeah, dude, he's tall. He's very tall.
Keep the details for a different day.
But anyways, that's a good example of a master at the message, and probably the retention in that video is really, really high, right? And it comes down to, at the end of the day, how we want to like set up our frameworks or content frameworks or team, or how do we want to set them up for success, or set yourself up for success if you're the one creating the content, to putting the time and the practice and the reps for that message, whether that's like short form or long form. I like to believe that after 500 episodes of this podcast, we have become better, right? Maybe I'm speaking a little bit slower. I don't know, maybe. But then at the same time, that it comes down to the video that I sent Fonzie earlier is about one of our HubSpot creators that every time I see a video of him, it's like in the same, I guess, environment. He has a setup, right? But he was talking about a reaction that he had over somebody else, almost like critiquing, like the. It
wasn't critiquing him, but it was talking about how this person said that creators need to have their style, and they need to have kind of like their series of things that people know what to expect, right? If you're creating content and it's always different,
changing,
it can confuse your audience. But if the audience knows exactly what to expect, right, you have a very specific series.
I just got called out and it hurt my feelings. This creator was talking on his stories about how creators mess up, and he was saying most of y'all don't have a consistent style. Just doing a bunch of different stuff and it's confusing your audience. He didn't say my name directly, but it's accurate. Trying so many different things, experimenting a little bit too much. Best creators have a consistent format. What I see is a lot of creators ride a specific format until they hit a certain level of trust with their audience, then they can venture out. I gotta figure out my freaking format.
And I think a great example is obviously the type Mr. Beast, right? We always talk about Mr. Beast. Yeah. He has a very unique style and type of video that he creates, and people expect that pretty
Yeah.
much every single time.
Yeah. Also, like if you're creating, let's say, podcast content, right, and all of a sudden you go on an adventure and you record like a vlog that has nothing to do with it. Not only your established audience might get a little bit confused if you don't explain what that is or why that's in there, but also what they were talking about was the algorithms, right? They won't know who to show it to because they've been reacting and they've been trying to show it to similar people that are consuming your content, which is, I think, it's really interesting, right? And on our side, I think my personal point of view after listening to him is also removing the friction from the creation process, right? Because if you're changing environments every single time, it's like how can you create an environment where it's very easy for you to sit down, work on your message and put it out there consistently, repeatedly, right? And there's layers of quality that you can start improving over time. But I think a lot of people get so hung up on like, what is the edit gonna look like? Well, is the message actually good? Is the message actually fit for a great edit, right? Because like the clip that we just saw, there's a story happening, right? There's a description happening. There's elements that you can play with in the edit to enhance that. But if we don't work on our message, it's gonna be really challenging to get to that point. So with that said, what are you doing today to create that environment where you can create consistently, frequently, right? Work on your message, get better every single day, and don't forget to put it out. Like
Find a format and a series that you can follow.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I'm going to add to that. I agree with that message that you need to find kind of like something that is working for you. But at the same time, and we talk about this with our customers, which is you have to consistently still be testing a new format, right? So 80% of your content is content that you know is working up to this point, and you can be consistent with it and frequent with it, right? And you can produce it on a cadence. And then 20%, you can test new things, right? So if usually you have content like this one, right? Like some sort of talking head that you bring 10 different, questions and you answer them specifically with a story. And that is your main piece of content and that has been working for you. That's great. Keep doing that. But the other 20% of content, right? Like the one piece of content a week that you're going to test, maybe you go out and do a series on interviewing people in the street with a very specific question. And then you test it out and see if it works. And if that works, well, then where are you going to put your resources now, right?
There's a decision that has to be made.
Now, are you going to keep doing what you've been doing that it works to a certain extent, but now that you have something that you prove that is better, it's an improvement, right? Can you potentially shift some of your resources into doing that and that becoming your 80% and now trying to find a new 20%, or even have a season where that becomes the 100%.
Yeah.
And then, or you can even split 50-50, right? Between what you were doing before and that new format. But I think yes, do the series, but at the same time, always be testing new things. Because at the end of the day, that's the way you can improve, right? And by improvement here, when we usually talk about content is, are we getting the attention of more people, right? And at the same time, what is the result that you're looking for? Do you want just the number of views to go up, or actually do you want more engaging conversations? So obviously it's very important how you measure that, right? We recently saw a video that went viral of this, is like a real estate guy, that the video said, my Gen Z sent me an edit of the video. And it was a video of him catching up his breath every time before he was starting to talk, right? It was something like, like the whole video, right? It was like that, and it was hilarious. And the video had 33 million views. But, obviously from judging that as reach, very successful. But now I'm curious on how did that actually translate it into business for the guy, right? Like, did people actually... I do believe people went back and consumed more of his content, but I'm still like, does the other content support that, enhancement of viewers, enhancement of visitors into your profile that then you can convert and turn into conversations and business, right? Because it's very different things if you're aiming for just, let me get a whole bunch of views and then try to monetize the views versus I actually have a business and have to sell a product, right? Like those translate differently. So when you're thinking about your series, you got to think about your goals and how you're producing all that.
100%. No, I love it. And I think, if you're listening or you're watching, if you have any questions, you can reach us out at BizBrosCo on social media. We're happy to jump on. I was just on a open Q&A session with somebody that's trying to figure out like their clipping strategy. They might not be able to invest right now, but we're always happy to help, because at the end of the day, we do believe that you have a message. You know, whether you're the business owner, you're the creator, there is a message that somebody needs, and by stopping because of these like little things that we believe that are totally false, we stop creating. We're not big fans of that, right? What we want to do is like, how can you work on your message consistently and frequently, right? And these two elements these two clips that we saw today kind of ignited that thought process. And, we want to encourage you to go create, put your content out consistently, whether it's micro content, whether it's a podcast, find your series, find your environment, remove the friction so you can start creating consistently. So I just want to come in here today and do that. Fonzie, any last thoughts?
No. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah, guys, with that said, thank you so much for tuning to the Content Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite podcasting platform and on social media at BizBrosCo.
That is Ryan. If today's episode helped you move one step closer towards your goal, please don't forget to share this episode. And of course, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. See ya.
Bye, guys.